Welcome to The Infidel, podcast of the damned, the weekly companion show of the Infidel News. Join us as we discuss this week's religious accounts from an atheist perspective. From Timbuktu to Toledo, from Kathmandu to Canada, from Bangalore to Bangladesh. We deplore, you deride. And here are your hosts, Dave and Nicole.
Hello, and welcome to show number 16 of the Infidel, podcast of the damned. I'm your host, J. David Core, atheist, author, and adventurous apparition. And with me is my co-host, Nicole Simard. Hello, Nicole.
Hello. Do I sound good with my new microphone?
Sounds good. Also joining us today is one of our anchors, Jenny McDermott. Hi, Jenny.
Hi.
Today is Wednesday, January 28th, 2015, and we're going to be discussing the upcoming episodes of the Infidel News, which will run beginning Monday, February 2nd, 2015. Show notes for all of our podcasts can be found at infidelpodcast.blogspot.com. And Jenny's here on Jenny McDermott Day because she's all over YouTube today. Her own channel, she put up a video today on SecularTV. She posted a video today, and now she's here with us, and she's going to be on Nicole's channel in a little bit. So she's just everywhere today.
Yay!
And if anybody goes to watch today's show, the video she did for Secular TV, you know that you will realize that she must have been through a lot of pain today. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yep, a little pain, but yeah.
That's dedication to your craft. Is what that is.
Passionate about it, so.
Okay.
Shall I start with the first story?
Yeah, let's go ahead and hit her up.
Last year, the Infidel first reported on the case of Raif Badawi, a Saudi blogger who was convicted on trumped-up charges of cybercrime in order to justify also convicting him of insulting Islam. He was first arrested in 2012 on charges of apostasy, which carries a potential death sentence. The apostasy charges were dropped in 2013 amid international appeals for clemency. However, his current conviction bears a 10-year confinement and 1,000 lashes. According to Amnesty International, the Saudi government intends to publicly lash Mr. Badawi every Friday for 20 weeks. He reportedly received his first round of 50 lashes in a public square in sight of the Al Jafali Mosque in Jeddah on the 9th of January, but the second set was canceled due to concerns for his health. Badawi had previously won an appeal for a retrial after an initial conviction earned him 600 lashes and 7 years of confinement. However, the second conviction resulted in a harsher sentence. Mr. Badawi has also been ordered to pay a fine of 1 million rials, which is roughly equivalent to just over $250,000 American dollars. According to a representative of Amnesty International named Boumadua, the sentence violates international law. Said Boumadua, by ignoring international calls to cancel the flogging, Saudi Arabia's authorities have demonstrated an aberrant disregard for the most basic human right principles.
There was news that came out today. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but after the first 50 lashes, they actually stayed the second 50 lashes last week, and he was supposed to receive them this week, tomorrow, or in 2 days. But a doctor has said that he's not healed well enough from the first set, which is 2 weeks ago now, and they plan to give him 50 every week for like several dozen weeks. So
yeah, like 18 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, it's basically a death sentence. Because you get it. There's secondary infection. There's just a trauma to the body. I mean, there's no way anybody could survive that.
Well,
that kind of speaks to how barbaric it is. If the punishment is so bad that only one go of it, left the guy in like such a bad medical condition that he can't do it ever again, pretty much,
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you've been following what's going on with Kent Hovind, but good old Kent has come out publicly saying that he would have rather had lashes like that, caning, than spent 8 years in jail like he has.
Well, that's fine. Let's go cane him then. He's an idiot. He has no idea what he's even talking about. It's just, there's actually a movement in Saudi Arabia, within Saudi Arabia itself, for people standing up and telling the government that they'll take 50 of the lashes.
Yeah. There's a Muslim professor for Princeton that said he would take 100, and then there's 5 other people that it had to do with Princeton in some way that said that they would stand in and take 100. I mean, they wrote a letter to the man in charge in Saudi Arabia, but
Well, there's a new man in charge in Saudi Arabia because the other one died.
oh yeah,
Yeah, well, the king died. He was 90 years old, and now his replacement, the new king, is a very young 79.
A very young 79. Yeah. Yeah. He did you hear about the Michelle Obama thing at the funeral? Michelle Obama attended the king's funeral. They were in India. President Obama and Michelle were in India, and they had to hurry and go to Saudi Arabia. So I guess she didn't have the right clothes with her for a state funeral in Saudi Arabia, which actually women aren't even supposed to attend funerals, but she did, and she wore a blue dress and her head was uncovered, and they blurred her on Saudi television, like she wasn't even there. And the prince, the 79-year-old prince, didn't acknowledge her.
wow.
Well, they're not the only ones who do that kind of thing. When they had that big demonstration, those millions of people demonstrating for Charlie Hebdo, there was, they had all the presidents of the different countries all lined up, arm in arm. And there was this Jewish conservative newspaper that decided that they were going to do. They didn't want to show any woman at the demonstration, and they photoshopped the whole thing so that the German premier was, or the president. I'm sorry.
Angela Merkel. There were actually three women that were photoshopped out of the picture, and I have to say, whoever did the Photoshop was excellent because it looks like they weren't even there. They took the women out and then they put the men closer together, and there was a whole bunch of people. It was deep, but they photoshopped it so well that it's seamless. You can't tell that anybody was taken out of it.
Well, for newspaper, newsprint, it's easy to do because you don't have much of a resolution.
No, on the internet, they put it on their internet site too, and the picture is a pretty good quality image on the internet, and it's pretty good. I'll find it and put it in the show notes, but it's really good, really well. I mean, it's not a good thing to do. I'm not happy that they did, but if you want to do it well. They did.
Because I remember once when I was working at a newspaper, we had a problem. We had two great pictures of this movie director with some government officials. And the problem with the two pictures is in one picture, it was a government official who had his eyes shut. And in the other picture, it was the movie director who had his eyes shut. And so I photoshopped everything so that I stole the eyes from one picture and put it on the other. And nobody ever could tell that I had done it.
But in the United States, the convention is when you do something like that, you have to label it as an illustration. You can't label it as a photo.
Huh.
That's the ethical convention. Fox wouldn't care, but everybody else does.
Fox wouldn't care. How dare you?
It's funny too because I actually read about Raif Badawi on Fox News, and I was like, I'll probably be able to tell, what I can use and what I can't use from this, what's real and what isn't. And it was actually pretty well written, and it was sympathetic to the guy and to Muslims, and I don't know. I mean, I found it online. It wasn't like O'Reilly was saying it.
Yeah, their online stuff is usually not as bad. It's not there's still some problems, but it's not as bad as their their television stuff.
Did you see the high school kids who decided that they were going to analyze one of O'Reilly's shows as a school project? And the thing is, O'Reilly had sent one of his henchmen over in their state and in their city, and they had presented the city and the state horribly. And so the kids got their revenge by tearing apart the O'Reilly show when they showed it, and they took the American Book of Ethics for journalists, and they just went one after the other. This is wrong because this is how you're breaking the code of ethics. Mm-hmm. This is wrong because you broke the Book of Ethics, and they showed every time what was wrong. And it's available on YouTube, but I can't remember.
The audio version of this is going to seem like we have a soundboard. Those are Jenny's pets being a little excitable for the audio audience. She stepped away to try to quiet them.
I thought it was competition for me when I was speaking.
She didn't have to do that, but she's gone. So so our next story, we might as well just go ahead and head into that while she's away from the camera.
Okay, here we. Oh, she's back.
She's back.
You're too late. We just spoke terribly about you, and now we're about to start the second story.
Sorry.
In the tradition of other initiatives by men's rights activists known as MRA, the new Evangelization Project is a website run by Catholic MRAs who hope to attract more men back to what may be the last bastion of Western patriarchy, the Holy Roman Catholic Church. Recently, a member of the project scored what must have seemed quite the coup among its membership when he was granted an audience and interview with the infamous Cardinal Raymond Leo Burke. The Infidel has reported on Burke in the past. Most recently, last November, when we reported on his demotion by the current Pope from his once lofty positions on the Bishops' Council and the Vatican Supreme Court, all the way down to a figurehead position as patron of the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, a charitable group within the Church dealing with care for the elderly. Given this platform to atone and reintegrate himself with a pope who many consider a liberal reformer, Burke instead chose to double down on misogyny and anti-gay rhetoric. According to Burke, the activities in the parish and even the liturgy have been influenced by women and have become so feminine in many places that men do not want to get involved. Burke also lauded the new batch of uber-macho seminarians he sees entering the vocation, saying, "The new crop of young men are manly and confident about their identity. This is a welcome development, for there was a period of time when men who were feminized and confused about their own sexual identity had entered the priesthood. Sadly, some of these disordered men sexually abused minors, a terrible tragedy for which the Church mourns."
And that was the only tragedy. The fact that the church shielded them and moved them around to avoid prosecution and paid off other victims, that wasn't the tragedy. The tragedy was that some pedophiles sneaked in. Oh, yeah.
Well, what else can you expect with right-wing priest?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I think they're the worst kinds.
Yeah, methinks the lady doth protest too much too. Anybody who's that staunchly accusatory of the gay lifestyle is not sure which way he swings himself.
Which story?
That's right. I said it. What's that?
What story is it?
It's the evangelical.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like I actually read a little bit about it too before on a Catholic website about what the Pope says about the whole thing, and basically it was saying that they wanted to add altar girls instead of having so many altar boys, in order to, I feel like all of this is in order to thwart pedophilia. I mean, if you look into it online, like the whole thing with the evangelization.
Yeah, it was the organization that he was talking to, this evangelization group. As soon as I started reading the articles about it and I saw that name, the name, the article, the title for the piece came to me right away. The He-Man Woman Haters Church. I thought that was
That was good. Sometimes I wish those titles were part of it. They're so funny.
Well, at least people can see the titles, as in the bottom lower third.
Yeah.
At least you can see that.
Yeah, I like it.
So,
I like it that you use them, because when I submit them, sometimes I'm like, I don't even know who's going to get this. Like the one before, the one we just did before, the one about the lashings, the caning. I called that story, "Oh Lord, I feel like I'm dying." Did you get that reference?
yeah,
I didn't get the reference. What was the reference?
It's, do you know, what is it? What is it, Nicole? Do you know?
I just pretended.
Oh, okay. It's a Whipping Post by the Allman Brothers Band. It's a line.
Oh.
It's a line from Whipping Post. See, it came full circle.
See, and you just showed your age.
Yeah, I know. I'm an old guy.
I've got a gray beard. You've got a gray beard. You've got dark hair, but you're older than me.
I am I older than you?
I don't know. I will never tell.
Okay.
But it's funny when Jenny was talking about the server boys. What do you call them in English? The choir boys. Who
Altar
help
boys.
celebrate mass.
Altar boys.
Altar boys. The thing
Choir
is,
boys in the choir. No.
the thing is in French, at least in Quebec where I grew up, we had altar girls all the time. I want to see that bird. Bring it over. I want to see the bird again.
They keep thinking that somebody came up to the house, so they're like little alarms. And my boyfriend just got home, so that's happening. Sorry.
So when I grew up, we had altar girls all over the place. In every church where I went, there was a lot more altar girls than there were altar boys. And then when I came to Ontario from Quebec, there was a huge mess going on because, in Ontario, francophones are a minority instead of a majority, like they are in Quebec. And so when I came here, there was a French priest who had used choir girls, and he got in trouble with the Archbishop. And I was thinking, by moving from Quebec, one province to another, did I go back a half a century?
Well, yeah. A lot of the United States, even a lot of the Catholic churches in the United States don't use altar girls. The ones in Ohio here, a lot of them do, and but I think there's parts of the state where they don't use altar girls, and it depends on a lot on the, like you said, on the bishop, whoever's in charge, and then even then, if the bishop allows it, it depends on the church, because the rector might not want it, so. They get to make that call. They're given way too much authority.
Ugh, ridiculous. To me, it's the church. There's so much difference when you go from, well, as an ex-Catholic, I can say it. There's so much difference in the liturgy, in the way things are handled from, one area of your country to another area to another area. Sometimes you feel like you're really moving back in time.
Yeah. Well, if you go the further south you go, not just in the United States, but even like below the border, when you go into Mexico and then you get into South America, it keeps changing. I mean, it's like the South American church is very different than the United States church, and the United States church is different than the Canadian church, and it's all considered one church, but it's really it's like politics. All politics is local.
Yeah.
It's the same way with the church.
So that reminds me of the thing about the one church like that. to the fact that one of my teachers, one of my when I was in high school, was saying that the Pope has the best spy system, information system in the world, of all the countries in the world, because anything that happens in a little parish gets passed on to the bishop, gets passed on to the archbishop, gets passed on to the Pope. The Pope knows what's going on everywhere in the world, to the smallest in the smallest regions.
Yeah. So, Jenny, Nicole and I were both raised Catholic and left the Catholic faith. What was your background?
My mom was raised Catholic, so after I was born, she became a born-again Christian, and then totally renounced Catholicism because of idol worship and things like that. And then we were part of, like, down here it's called Calvary Chapel, but it's like a hip Christian church with like a rock band and like that whole thing. So yeah, every once in a while, I mean, we went through all kinds of different things. Like my mom would change her mind. At one point, we embraced our Native American heritage and we made dream catchers and stuff and didn't go to church anymore. And then we were extremely Christian and I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons. And then towards the end there, I think she kind of just didn't care anymore. Once she started smoking pot, she was like,
So
whatever.
So she was a Rastafarian at the end.
Right. But then she becomes extremely, extremely Christian anytime she wants to talk about my atheism. So whether or not she's going to church at the time or not, that's pretty much the thing that makes her very religious all of a sudden. But yeah, so it hasn't been anything for many years for me. It's probably been, since high school. I'm 31 now, nothing. So no religion.
So when you were growing up, since your mother was Catholic before she converted, that means your grandparents were Catholic.
Yeah, so I'm Irish and I have a Catholic side of Irish on my dad's side, and then my mom's side are Spanish, so they are Catholic too.
Oh, so all your grandparents are Catholic.
Yeah.
But you don't have any experience with the Catholic Church?
No, none. I mean, I had a best friend growing up who was going to a Catholic school, and I would be jealous because she got to wear a cool skirt and stuff. But other than that, nothing.
None of your grandparents were ever hassling your mother about getting you baptized or anything like that?
No, I mean, they were like, the one grandparents lived in Iowa, so I never saw them. And then my grandparents lived by us. My grandma was a writer and she wrote for the newspaper and she was just chill. Desert people are chill. They don't really go to the church like super often or anything. There's nothing going on out there. It's just kind of like Mad Max. So
like Mad Max?
Yeah, like just no rules. It's crazy out there.
Yeah, it's beyond Thunderdome.
Oh yeah, you're talking about old stuff. For a 31-year-old, you shouldn't have watched an old movie like that.
Oh, that's Mel Gibson.
They're remaking Mad Max.
Oh yeah?
Cool.
Yeah, they're remaking it. I don't know
who's gonna be the main guy.
I forget. I can look it up real quick, but I forget.
One cool is gonna be.
Oh,
I think it might be Joel Kinnaman, who's like my favorite person ever.
Yeah, it's let's see. Tom Hardy is actually the star, and Charlize Theron is in it, and Zoe Kravitz is in it. You know who Zoe Kravitz is? Did you see?
no idea.
It's Lenny Kravitz's daughter with Lisa Bonet. She was in that movie with it was like a Hunger Games kind of a thing. I forget what it was called. Divergent. She was in Divergent. But anyway.
I got more excited when I read the news not too long ago that it looks like there's going to be a bringing back to life of Babylon 5. Now that would be exciting.
Really? The second series or the first one?
But
they were totally different.
Babylon 5?
Yeah, there was a first series. There was a series in the 80s, or maybe late 70s, Babylon 5.
No. You're thinking about something else.
No.
You're thinking about something else, a totally different series.
Am I?
Oh, are you thinking of Battlestar Galactica?
Yes, that's what he's thinking about.
Okay.
It could be Babylon 5 too. I have no idea. I like Star Trek. I'm a Trekkie myself.
Babylon 5 is totally different. And I first watched it because it was all the special effects were made with the Amiga computer, and I had an Amiga computer in those days.
I had an Amiga computer.
And so, and they're going to resuscitate that series. And if anybody has never heard or watched a Babylon 5 episode, I should strongly recommend it. It is excellent.
Sheldon Cooper didn't like it.
Well, guess what I think of Sheldon Cooper? Shall we go on to the third story?
Yeah, let's do her.
After an earthquake killed more than 200,000 people in Haiti on January 12, 2010, those who survived were understandably in shock. Some still experience mental trauma to this day, but in a country with a history of mysticism, such claims are risky to make public. Fearing that they might be labeled insane by modern doctors and institutionalized, as has happened in recent times, people turn instead to voodoo priests or witch doctors for help. There are a few practitioners of modern mental health in Haiti, but not nearly enough to cope with the country's population of over 10 million. So as a practical matter, since the population is unlikely to use terms such as depression to describe their feelings, doctors have devised a screening process that looks for changes in eating and sleeping habits, malaise, or loss of appetite as signs of what might not be entirely physical ailments. Since primitive practices such as voodoo are still widely employed in Haiti, medical professions have turned to these practitioners for help and are attempting to teach them modern ways of detecting and dealing with such symptoms, rather than just sacrificing animals or blaming the condition on evil spirits as they might otherwise do. There are signs of progress, and importantly, patients are learning that they can open up their feelings without fear of being locked away by medical professionals, while at the same time, if they do avail themselves of the traditional methods, they may receive more appropriate treatments.
Now, I'm conflicted on this story because on the one hand, I'm glad that they are finding a way to get superstitious people who don't have generally a trust of medical science to come to medical science. So in that sense, I'm happy about it. But it disappoints me to no end that they're actually, training the voodoo priests in modern medical techniques that they don't believe in, and basically letting them be the ones who introduce science to the people who follow them. That's like having a creationist teach science in the United States. It doesn't work because they keep introducing false ideas into it.
As the next editor-in-chief, see, I went from saying earlier that I was an ex-journalist to ex-editor-in-chief now. I have to make myself sound more important.
Next time,
as the next,
next time, I'll be the publisher.
Well, next, only for a short while. So, as I loved that story for one reason: is it's something that is not covered by the main media.
Yeah,
it's one of those stories that I like to find once in a while for the infidel, because those are the kind of stories that are not covered by the main media, and it doesn't matter how long it takes before we take it to, we bring it up to people. It's going to be fresh, and it's the kind of stuff that nobody knows about, and it's important to bring it up to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's crazy because they said that, well, I was reading about it on Reuters too, just before this podcast. They were saying that there's like 10 psychologists in all of Haiti, and there's like so what was it, 10 million people? I think it's 10 million people living there and 10 psychologists. And then like 60,000 of these people called Ati, which are like the witch doctor there. And so, yeah, even though it's lying technically, or, deceiving the people, I think as long as it works, I guess in this case, right? Because all these people are suffering from depression, and it said by 2030 it's going to be the number one, like illness there is depression that these people suffer from because they don't have any help or treatment for it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
but yeah,
I
but
guess.
what would be better? What I think, for me, a better approach would be trying to attract more psychologists for one thing, for the government to get behind a push to get more psychologists, and to improve science education in schools. If you improve the science education in schools, you end up with a generation that understands it, and that's why Christianity is dying so fast in the United States, because with the advent of the internet and people being able to access science, and people like Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson out there talking science to people, it's all the superstition goes away. And it's been that way for 200 years. That's how we got rid of the Dark Ages, was by people understanding science.
Yeah.
But I think there's you can't forget that Haiti is a country that's it's so sad over there. Like, number one, after they were able to kick the French out, they had to pay a penalty, and they had to pay for over a century. The French government for the privilege of being on their own and not have and having kicked them out. So that it kept the country in constant debt. They were always trying to pull themselves up, and they couldn't. And so they could never invest into themselves. They had to destroy the forests. So they have very little forest left. It used to be a green country. Now it's almost bare. Anytime there's anything a heavy rain or whatever, there are landslides. It's always a disaster for them. They have really had it tough, and now it's like, is it possible for them to even get out of their troubles, out of their misery? And that's another reason I picked that story, because it illustrates how difficult it is for the people who live out there. And the fact that they'd be so depressed doesn't surprise me one single bit. They get
No,
earthquakes, they get mudslides, they get everything.
they
Well,
get
people
hepatitis.
forget about the earthquake, like people forget that happened a few years ago, and it's not that easy for people in these countries to just bounce back from that,
Hmm.
after all these deaths too. I mean, that's a major cause of their depression.
Yeah, the situation over there is also compounded by the fact that they did have a hepatitis outbreak that scared away a lot of their tourism, and it never recovered, because after the tourism died, then they had natural disasters, and now there's nothing to tour. I think, isn't Port-au-Prince is like the only tourist destination anymore, isn't it?
I think so. No, I think it's really sad for that country.
Hmm.
They had it tough. They had all sorts of problems and all sorts of difficulties. The little people, have really had no chance for two centuries.
Hmm. And Pat Robertson said that they brought it on themselves because they entered into a pact with the devil in order to get rid of
Yes,
the French.
yes, sadly.
Yeah.
They had Papadoc, and
Oh yeah, Papadoc. I forgot about him. Yeah,
yeah,
Duvalier, wasn't it?
yep, exactly, Duvalier.
Yeah.
See, I couldn't remember Duvalier. I could only remember Papadoc.
Hmm. Yeah. I have a
And
mind
the
like a.
Tonton Macoute,
I have a
ever
mind
heard
like a.
of those?
No. What?
They were the bad cops that were used by Duvalier. They were really,
Oh, yeah. I knew they had. I didn't know what they were called, but yeah, I have a mind like a steel. I tried to do that joke through.
Steel trap.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, steel trap. That was
Oh, well.
that was my third attempt on that joke.
And so that's it for today, I guess.
Yeah, we don't have a Christian glitches again this week, but there's not. That doesn't mean that there hasn't been some crazy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Did you see the Iowa speeches that the Republicans were making? Like all the Republicans went to Iowa to get ready for the caucuses and everything, and like opening up their campaigns. And Sarah Palin did a speech, and she says
yes.
she said her teleprompter quit. But
Let's put it this way: even the Republicans have given up on her.
oh my God, she was awful. It was the worst ever. It's hilarious. It's hilarious and painful to watch at the same time. It was so
I think they like her for her, like how she's a dingbat kind of, because she kind of was just like and then kind of pulled it up. Everyone was like cheering. She was like, if you're bent over, and how are you gonna? He's gonna ride you on the back, like.
Yeah.
What? And everyone went crazy.
Like, was she talking from experience?
I don't know.
Yeah. Probably not. I'm sure her and her husband have never done anything but missionary position. Ever.
Yeah.
Anyway. But yeah, they were. I mean, but every single one of them, except for Donald Trump, I think, brought up religion in one way or another. They were like, it's just like they can't not talk about it. But I don't think Donald Trump did, really, because Donald Trump talks about himself. Donald Trump is God to Donald Trump. So. But anyway.
And there was also Answers in Genesis that came up with an interesting one this week. It was Ken Ham. They watched again last year's show. Oh, damn! Just because I want to say it now, with Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, the debate? Oh, Cosmos.
Cosmos. So it looks like they went through all the old episodes of Tyson's Cosmos again through a fine-tooth comb, and then finally they found a little something that they latched onto and tried to make him look bad. And the thing is, in one of the episodes, I think it was episode 6 or 8, he said something about the ancients who were not quite so far off when they were praying to the sun as a god because we're all made of stardust. And now Ken Ham latched onto that and then says that Tyson wants everybody to pray to the sun god. Okay. One and the other, right? That really follows.
Yeah. Well, what was it that Ray Comfort recently on his Facebook page posted something that he has been hawking. He's been hawking this idea since like 2005. About he wrote a book about a bunch of things that are scientifically accurate in the Bible. You saw that, right?
Actually, give me a second. We've lost Jenny.
We have. Oh, she's frozen.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but we can't see you.
That's okay. They don't need to see me. They've seen enough of me today.
As long as we can hear her, that's true.
Well, for those who haven't seen enough of Jenny, please go see the video.
Yeah. Then you'll get an eyeful of Jenny. But what was it? So anyway, he wrote a book several years ago about scientific truths in the Bible, and he tried to he revived one of them for a Facebook post, and you commented on it, I think, didn't you, Nicole? The Facebook post. It was shoot, what was it? I'm drawing a blank right now. Crap, I can't remember. But anyway, it was something that science.
About science in the Bible.
Yeah. Do you
Oh
remember what it
yeah,
was?
yeah. It was all about science in the Bible, and he gave all sorts of examples of how the Bible, was filled with scientific facts. And I said yes. As we all know, the cure for leprosy, it's has proven true throughout the ages.
Yeah, yeah, but there was a specific scientific fact that he said was in the Bible, and in that post, he like mentioned a specific one, and I can't remember what it was, but it was just inaccurate. There was nothing. It was
It
oh
was.
yeah, it was oh, I remember what it was. I remember what it was. In the Bible, it says uh in Genesis, in the English version of the Bible, it says that the woman's seed, um, the woman's seed shall blah 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 blah. And he said, and back then, scientifically, they didn't know that the ovum was like a seed. They thought that the man like fertilized, and it was the male seed. But if you actually go and read the Hebrew, the word that they used was means offspring, and in English, at the time that the King James version was written, they called offspring, or progeny, they called it the seed because it was the man's seed. So um, his point was like totally. If you read the Hebrew, it debunks itself. So he didn't even know what he was talking about as far as like he just took the
I'm
English
shocked.
translation and ran with it.
I'm
So
shocked.
yeah, but,
You know, I can't believe. How can you say things like that?
That's just out of character.
Yes, you know,
yeah,
we're supposed to show them respect.
yeah. Well, I respect their right to be idiots, but that doesn't mean I have to. I
Doesn't
can't
mean they
point.
have a
I
right
can't
to
point.
their own
I
facts.
can't point out their. That's right. They have a right. They don't have a right to their own facts.
They have a right to their own opinion, but not their own facts.
Right. Well, let's go ahead and bring this show to a conclusion since Jenny's video is frozen. And Jenny, do you want to tell people about your the title of your show and Secularism TV and how they can and your schedule and whatnot?
Sure. So I will be having a show every Wednesday called Jenny's Jack Off Hour, and
And it lasts 5 minutes.
it lasts 5 minutes or less. And basically, it's just me talking about whatever kind of harebrained thing I come up with, and it's funny and good, and it's like a studio, like a radio studio. And it's on Secular TV. So check it out because they're brand new and they're pretty cool. And then, of course, I'm doing Atheism TV, which is also cool, maybe a little cooler. And then
Maybe.
my own channel. And I've been thinking about making a new channel called YouTube Court, where I pull people into YouTube Court that break the YouTube constitution that I'm going to write. And they have to answer for their crimes. So expect to see a lot of the amazing atheists and, thunderfoots of the internet. I don't know
Aw.
why they do that. I was just trying to make a joke.
Oh well.
Yeah, there's I don't even there's so much. I am so glad that I don't follow the YouTube drama anymore, because I used to just because of the people I was following would start talking about it, it would get me like drawn in. I never got involved personally, but I would always get drawn into it and like look into what was going on and stuff. I don't give a shit anymore. I have no idea what Thunderfoot didn't do, what yeah, this week. Or what's his name? The monkey. What's the other guy?
Hey, oh,
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what he did. I don't care what he did. I don't, it's just.
there's a movie about this massive art installation that took place, I think, in New York. And these people answered to a flyer. They called a number. The number told them to like go up to some room, and you get a key and all this. And it's this massive art installation that went on for years, and people were so deeply involved. And I think that YouTube is like that so much of the time. I'm like, what is actually real? What do you really care about, everyone? Because care care about these things, but when I go have my real life, I don't think about them at all.
Exactly.
Exactly. And that was a great line to end the show on. So, so that's all for today. Please make sure that you subscribe to the Atheism TV channel. There you can watch the Infidel News for the Damned, where our talented team of writers and anchors present these and other stories not normally covered in the media. In the coming week, the Infidel will rerun today's stories and many more fascinating ones. You'll find Atheism TV at youtube.com/atheismtv. The Infidel Podcast of the Damned is a Nicole SD production. Nicole and I would like to recognize and say thank you to True Surge, who did the voiceover used in our intro and gave us permission to use music from his song Lied To as our opening theme. We'd also like to thank Jenny for participating in today's podcast. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank
Thank
you. Sorry about
you.
the sound earlier.
Nicole's channel is Nicole SD and can be found at youtube.com/NICOLSD. I'm Gamut Man on YouTube, at Gamut Man on Twitter, and my blog and information on my books, including my nonfiction title, Believe It, You Know an Atheist, as well as my mystery novels featuring the atheist detective Lupa Schwartz, can be accessed at tinyurl.com/lupalanding. While there, you can sign up to receive my newsletter. Signing up also entitles you to choose one free ebook title from my collection of 99-cent novellas. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.